Um, I think some of our biggest challenges in third grade is just that they've never taken the STAR test before, so we don't have any um, STAR related data coming into the grade level to know where their students where they're at in their learning, and then also just the fact of teaching them how to take the test, um, getting used to that endurance of doing a 4 hour long assessment and everything that comes with that.
And I also think that for reading specifically, we were able to get or our district assessment data, seeing the progress or lack of progress is a challenge to see that how we can put plans in place to have them make that growth.
Mm-hmm. And we also see a lot of challenges just in behavior, just getting students to buy into what we're doing, and being able to put in the effort and the work, um, to make it hard, make it happen, even when it's hard and difficult.
Right. And so we've established or are establishing the growth mindset model where they are taking, trying, attempting when there's challenges arise, or and sharing those through Seesaw. Um,
We're teaching them how to work through those challenges, not just to shut down and give in to the frustration, but to how to cope and deal with that frustration and to grow.
and I think with that, we're also able to connect academic strategies that help them
Mm-hmm.
um, reach those challenges that do affect their behavior, because they are struggling and they're coming in at a lower level,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to get them to, to set that growth mindset of maybe I can't do it right now, but we've instilled that word yet,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's something that we're working on.
Right. And just recently started doing social contracts with each class, and just even talking about the language of a contract and how that works and how it's basically an agreement. So it's getting them all to buy in and agree to what um, the classroom environment should look like, from not only on their end but also on the teacher's end and our part in role in their learning. And I think that it's going to be a huge thing in just getting them to buy in into what we're doing.
And I think also is holding that, doing that, the accountability piece. We can teach them these strategies. We can, explain growth mindset. We can share their data with them. But at the end, how are we going to translate that and hold them accountable for, filling those gaps in, making that growth? In reading, I've created an academic goal wall where it will be a um, weekly or daily changing on reading. If they're struggling with decoding, then they move their name to the decoding. I'm working on decoding today. In writing, I'm having trouble with staying focused the entire time, so they have their name on their stamina, working on writing stamina. So that's a daily goal setting that they're doing, so that when they come in, they have a reading goal and a writing goal. But with the data, I know we have our data tracking
Mm-hmm.
for their district assessments. I have it for their reading level and their iStation in their notebook, so that they can plot, their progress or their digression.
Yeah. And
Um,
as we do different kind of assessments, we'll um, teach them how to evaluate where they're at and where their learning is, so they can kind of understand the errors that they've made and how to, um, you know, learn from those errors, and also how the good things that they've done in those assessments and how to repeat that. And as we get more into district assessments, we'll even teach them the language of what approaching and meeting and mastery looks like, and help them in setting their goals based upon where they're each individually at, for each assessment, and so they can see their growth throughout the year with each assessment that we take.
And I think also with our new grading policy, with them taking some accountability for their grading, that I've, kind of told them, guys, when we take our assessments, I will be in charge and I'm going to reteach you. And you're going to have an opportunity to improve your grade. Daily work and independent work, I want you to look at your grades and see, is this acceptable for me? Is this acceptable for my parents? And if it's something that I need to work on, then I need to turn it in and say, look, Miss Gregory, this grade is not acceptable for me. I need to do something to improve it. So I think also putting their daily work and their assessments where they're able to say, hey, this is not enough for me. Let me go ahead and do another assignment to improve this skill, and let me do some more practice.
Yeah, and it's something that they're learning too, is just what is acceptable work and effort and what that looks like in their output. They can tell if it's acceptable or not. And so it's been a process, but we're getting there.
Right. And I think that for us, it's us setting those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and being uh,
Consistent.
consistent with our expectations for them so that they know when they come into class, Miss Gregory, Mr. Boyd, Miss Hill, this is what they're expecting me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I fall below that, then we have that accountability piece and we have all of our data showing and
Mm-hmm.
their goal setting that says, hey, remember when you did this? And so pointing back to their decisions that they've made.
Mm-hmm. And that's us, third grade.
Okay, so as we were reviewing the data from last year, I was thinking to myself, well, with our population of kids, how do we get them motivated? How do we get them invested in their school? And Megan Hall's name actually popped up in my mind from the Tier 1 training from the summer provided from the district. And according to Megan Hall, one of the key elements to student success is the relationship between the teacher and the parents. So I thought, well, there's hope there because we started Seesaw this year. And through Seesaw, I've made many meaningful relationships with parents already, a lot of good interactions. And so really what I'm doing to address student success in my class is utilizing Seesaw, not only to make contact with parents, but let the parents into a little glimpse into what's going on in the classroom. Lots of videos, lots of pictures of kids' work. So hopefully just by doing that, parents and kids will have conversations about what's going on in math in second grade. Also, the kids really love it, and they perform for it. So many times when the kids are coming in a bit of a lull in class and I'm starting to lose them a little bit, I'll say something like, hey, who wants to show off on Seesaw for your parents? And almost immediately the kids will become more engaged. They really love to see the videos for the parents. As far as holding kids accountable, I think that we kind of addressed that with our schedule this year with focus. So having that extra time built into my schedule with focus allows me to pull kids who were just not getting a concept or taking just too much time or maybe not staying on task as much as they can. They know that they can't get away with it because I just pulled them in focus. So that's what I'm doing to hold the kids accountable. And I know in second grade my job is to send them to third grade with kind of a strong footing and really knowing how to be a good student and just kind of having a solid base.
So some of the challenges that I see after reviewing the 2019-20 data is closing the gaps between kids as they go up the grade levels, and then also making sure that the information is energetic and that they're not learning as much as they should within each year progress. So things that I'm going to do to address it is just make sure my classroom is more energetic and interactive and not like sitting in their chair doing worksheets. Being in kinder, like they can't sit in their chairs long anyway, so I'm trying to do more room transformations where it's like kind of taking them completely out of what would be your classroom into a different thing. One thing I did last year was the glow day, and my kids absolutely loved it, and it was super energetic and inviting to them, and it was the ELAR in the morning and the math in the afternoon, and so it was a very hands-on and something different than their everyday classroom in there, but we were still learning and doing all of the activities that needed to be covered in the TEKS. And then for being able to be held accountability, the first semester in kindergarten, we kind of do it whole group, and we go over, like, for our I-Station test, we go over how much we want to grow, and we want to see the graph go up, not down. And then with our reading at our guided reading table, we make sure that we're progressing every time we need to. If we missed a word last time, the next time we come to my year-round table, that we're going to actually progress and realize that that word was the one that we missed the day before, and we're getting back on track with it. And then second semester, I actually have a kindergarten data folder that the kids actually go in and they graph themselves. So like if they missed a word one day, they'll circle it and then they'll color it the day they get it, and I'll write the date on it. And then as they do iStation, they will graph their scores so that they can see it, and then it goes home every 6 weeks so the parents can see how much they grew within those 6 weeks um, with the students. So it's kind of the students are holding themselves accountable come second 6 weeks and or second semester. First semester, where the students are still being held accountable by themselves, but it's more teacher led since they are so young.
So I was asked to answer a few questions here about myself and about my students for this school year and how we're going to make this school year better. And so one of the things that I want to address is, after reviewing the data from last year for the school year, and especially in my fourth grade math classroom, I was asked, what are some of my challenges? And so I think my biggest challenge this year is my approaches. If you look at my data, shows that kids are getting there. They're just not quite there yet at that fourth grade level. And so I think as a teacher, one of the things that I'd like to do is I'm setting a goal for myself that I need to, although my approaches level is looking pretty good, I need to focus more now with my kids who are meets or masters, or getting those kids from the approaches level up into meets, keeping my kids who are at the master's level, and then especially those kids who are meeting, we need to bump them up to that master's level. So that is a big goal that I have for myself. Unfortunately for me, last year I was a D teacher, and so I was about this close to being that level C teacher, but my goal for this year is to possibly get myself, I would love to be up at a B level. It would be wonderful for me to get to that A level, which is doable, but I'm going to have to put forth a lot of extra work. So secondly, what am I going to do to address those challenges? And one of the things that I need to focus on more is more intentional planning to meet my SE. I gotta make sure that whatever that specificity is in my IFD, I'm hitting that. And I do have to go back and I've got to look at IQ analysis. I've also got to take a look at my text clarification document for math so that I'm hitting all the different stimuli, because I know that there were things that I probably could have hit better last year. Looking at the test even from the year before, I have to change that stimuli up a lot just to make sure that my kids are having all those experiences and they'll be ready for those items. A second thing that I need to do is I just need to be more intentional with my intervention with my meets and my master's kids to make sure that their brains are being exercised, because I think as a teacher sometimes I'm pushing so hard to get my kids to that approaches level that I need to push them up and beyond that level, and I need to not forget about, because they do well on their own anyway, I need to provide more focus for those kids to keep those brains exercised. So keeping my kids at masters who are already there, but then pushing my meets kids to make room for those approaches kids even to come into that meets and masters level. Thirdly, I need to hold my students more accountable for their education. And so one of the things that I am doing is making sure that I am goal setting more often than I did last year. So sitting down with the kids, showing them scores, previous scores that they had attained, and then talking about, what are you going to do? What is your job as a student to make sure that if you're at that approaches level, that you're going to bump up to that meets level? And the kids have to know about scores. And so we look at all those types of things. We look at, what did you score here? How are you going to get to that next level? If you're at the meets level, how are you going to get to that master's level? And noticing that master's is hard to stay at. Once you've been there, what are you going to do to make sure that you're going to be able to keep that recognition of being a master of fourth grade? And finally, I want to talk about also with holding students responsible. I've got two little pieces there. I want to ask students to attend more tutoring sessions, and not just my low performing students. I want my meets and my master's kids to also participate in some of that tutoring. And we've already talked to some of the staff members. I've already been in contact with other math teachers on the campus about scheduling some days where we can share some tutoring so that we're helping each other in order for our school to become a better place to learn. The last thing that I have for my students to do is error analysis. I think that is one of the best ways for kids to see their own errors and then determine what they can do, come up with a plan. How do I change this so that this mistake never happens again? And it's my job to teach kids how to analyze and then how to fix those problems so that they can score better when that time comes. So I think as a whole, we've got a good plan. I know I have a great campus to work with. Everybody is so willing to help out. All the other grade levels, we're willing to help out students because in the end, it's a team. And so we're all going to work together to hopefully bring this campus back to where we used to be, a great campus. Thanks.